Hello Fly Nation and welcome to the Freestyle Your Life podcast, the one and only podcast inspiring you to live your authentic greatness while teaching you that less is more. I'm your host, Erneste Zimmermann, and I'm on my mission to help you to be the hero you were meant to be and to live what you came for in life and in business. Remember, the quest we came here for is to discover our true nature, explore our potential and share it by living. Hello Fly Nation, welcome to your Freestyle Your Life podcast and episode number 32, How to Emerge and Become Who You Were Meant to Be with Cody Dakota Wooten. The Freestyle Your Life podcast is the only podcast inspiring you that less is more and to become truly yourself and living your greatness. We need to become less of what we took on in life in order to find back to ourselves once we lost ourselves. Cody and myself experienced that already. Hopefully we can inspire you to prevent that to happen in your life too. Now let's get inspired on how igniting your true self easily helps you to break free from what you took on in life and what sucks. We are talking about how to emerge and become who you were meant to be and to enjoy life authentically on own terms as yourself and how to start to fly. Remember, the quest we came here for is to discover our true nature, to explore our potential and to share it by living it. Let's jump right into episode number 32 with Cody, the leadership expert. So today my pleasure is Cody Dakota Wooten here on the Fly podcast, and he has the leadership guide and he also has the Emerge Leadership Connection podcast. So he's a podcast colleague and he will tell us more about legendary leadership, which is a topic I'm totally interested in, and what can we do to move towards our heroic journey and to be truly what we are, right? So my topic is to be authentic, what we are meant to be, what we came here for, and so we are just that this is just so related. So I love to talk to you, and Just jump in, Cody. I just had the pleasure and I was just listening to your podcast with Stephen Tash.
Thank you.
I totally loved it. And he's the sort of, a little bit provocative, but maybe not easy to handle. But I just went ahead and I just invited him because I was so fascinated from your talk with him. And he just said he's gonna apply for the interview. So,
awesome.
we don't need yes sayers, right? So
exactly, yeah, and that's one of the great things about Steven is he is not a yes sayer. He is going to tell you what he thinks, whether you like it or not, and he's gonna push on that. And he's a fascinating guy. I don't 100% agree with him on everything he says, but I love talking to him just because he is he's extremely fascinating as an individual, and he has a ton of amazing information stored up inside his head. And so to be able to pull that out of him and have that conversation with him, it was an absolute blast. And I'm actually looking forward to have him again on my podcast.
Yeah, I really enjoyed so much to listen to both of you and him really being sort of radical, right? But that takes courage not to go with the mainstream, right? That's
exactly
easy to handle, but to have a opposite opinion, their own opinions. So like I say, less is more. So everybody out there is trying to push, and you need this and you need that and you need to become more. Yeah, that's bullshit, right? For my experience and for my opinion, we don't need to. We are already overloaded, right? So we don't need to become more or have more, as we all know, this is not what people, what makes people successful, as you discussed it with Stephen, or what makes happy, right? So everybody, if it would be the case, everybody would be being millionaire would be happy, right? But they aren't, right?
Yeah.
So
no, it's true.
So this comes from the inside, and this, for my opinion, has to do if you are Cody yourself, right? If you start to stand for yourself and take a stand and be authentic and be what you are, right? So like you or like Stephen, but so many people they don't have the courage. They are afraid to show up with their real taste, right? So
definitely. And you know what? I think a part of it is they see someone who's successful and they go, that person's already successful. And they put that image of what success has to look like onto themselves. And when they say, I'm not that person, they become discouraged because they're having what I call like a comparison disease, right? And the thing is, right, you'll never be that person. No matter how much you train yourself up to be, you'll never be that person. And that's okay, because you are the best version of you there will ever be. And there are certain things that you have that person will never have. And if you can live up into that and actually become that full potential of who you already are, you can change the world.
Yes, Cody, thanks for pointing that out. I think that's so very essential, because we all try to model and to copy other people and other systems, right? That might be sometimes really good to copy a system from. I do that myself with sort of the online summit, and how like Ted McGrath just comes to my head, or some of my mentors. But I just look at it and look if the system works, right? And then what we need to do is to adapt it for ourselves.
Exactly.
I'm not Cody, right? I cannot act as Cody. So if you're doing great things, as you do, obviously, and the awards you're winning there, I might check it out and copy some of your systems, right? But I can never be Cody, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And the key to what you're saying is you copy a part of what they do, because people who are successful, I believe there's traces of what they do that you can pick up for yourself, but it's not about completely copying them. It's about picking up the pieces that are going to best serve you for who you are on your journey, and then leave the rest of it behind, because that's not you. Right.
That's exactly the point. So that's what I consider mentorship, and what I consider is our job. It's not turn around the person. The person first has to find him or herself. Most people have lost themselves. So
I know, and I've been there before too. I've lost myself. It's in our world today. It's so easy to lose who you are yourself, and so that's definitely the first part of the journey. Is you have to say, who am I? And once you actually delve into figuring out who you are, that's when you can really take off.
Right. And have the courage to dive in, to find out, and then even more sort of scary to show up like that. Right?
Yeah.
And stop the yes saying and the fake play and the playing roles and everything, because I was in the school of hard knocks, I must say. So I learned it the hard way, right? So having 2 companies to run and 2 sons, and being a single mom and ill, and it was just not possible, right? So I was a multitasking genius, but that just spread my consciousness, right? So I could handle most of the tasks that I had to do, but because I was so, I really, I was perfect in doing sort of like 6 to 7 things at a time. But that done over a long time is just killing your head, right?
Yeah, it's I've got a mentor of mine right now. His name's Bryan Johnson. And he runs the Optimize group, which is a fascinating group. And one of the things we talk about a lot is different rhythms in our lives. Yeah. You have circadian rhythms, which are your day rhythms, right? Every day you have certain things you do. You get up, you usually have some sort of morning routine. You do work, you come home, you be with your family, you get ready for bed, you go to bed. That's like your circadian rhythm. Then they talk about ultradian rhythms, which is about our attention span to really do deep work, from what the science says, is about 90 minutes, anywhere from an hour to 90 minutes about. And so that's when you like can really dive into the work, do it really, really well. Right. And then after you get through that 90 minutes, you have to start to look to take a break, because if you extend it longer, you exponentially get worse at whatever you're trying to do. Yeah. And so after that, about 50, it's, I think 50 to 90 minutes technically, but I'd like to say an hour to 90 minutes. So you take that hour to 90 minutes, and then you need to take anywhere from a 10-minute to a 30-minute break. And those are your ultradian rhythms to really set your mind back up. And how often do we go into work for a full 8 hours and try and do work for a full 8 hours straight? Yeah. You know?
And that's just not possible. So I have Brendan Burchard as high performance coach. So in his academy, and he's teaching all those things, right? And he always told us to work in 60 to maximum 90-minute chunks, right? So I have my day structured in that through that things, and to put free time and to put project time and just creating time into the schedule, right? I didn't do that in former times, and now I just have I have it all set up. I put free time to be creative, because otherwise my whole schedule is full.
Yep. And the one of the things that I've learned is if you don't fill the schedule up yourself, someone else ends up filling it up for you.
Right. And then you end up acting on other people's agenda the whole day.
Exactly. And then you're not able to express yourself fully.
Right. And if you many people start with acting on other people's agenda, name it email, whatever, right? So I stopped that long time ago, right? Because that's killing your focus, your clarity, your creativity, and afterwards you have the feeling, what the hell did I do? There was nothing productive. Yeah.
Nothing got accomplished at all. And now you're at the end of the day like, sheesh, I meant to work on this. I meant to work on this. I meant to work on that. And none of it's done. And you're not any closer to your goals. Right.
That's why this is really essential to point that out. And I have Dan Sullivan, who is the strategic coach, mentor. Do you know him?
Say that one more time.
Dan Sullivan.
Dan Sullivan? Okay. I've heard of Dan Sullivan. Yeah.
The strategic coach, the number one. But he has a big company, and of course he has all his staff and coaches doing the thing for him, right? And he's always like he says, not put more than 3 topics or items to do on one day, right? Yeah.
Which makes perfect sense, because if you have to break it into 90-minute chunks, right? And you have your 3 major things you're trying to get done that day. that already right there is about 4.5 hours. If you take a decent break in between each, you're looking at 6 hours, right?
Yeah.
And then you still always have some other little things you have to take care of. Email someone, make sure your clients aren't going crazy, make sure that your team is actually on task. So that gives you like this perfect amount of time to really dive into your deep work, but still actually get the small things done.
Right. And that's what he hammered really in our head. And I totally relate to it. But most people, of course, have 10 things up to 15 on their calendar, right? So I nearly no day I end up with just 3, but I focus on it. So, when I do the planning for the week, I see the interviews that are booked in. So that you're choosing the time in my calendar. So this is fixed. But around that, I'm placing really time for myself and creative and whatever is to do, and I block it, because otherwise it gets blocked.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't take the time block, that time gets filled up. It's I saw this really powerful image someone showed me once, where they took a glass jar, right? And they had small little rocks, they had medium little rocks, and they had big rocks, right? And the big rocks are the things that you need to get done in order to progress on your goal. And the small rocks are the everyday little nuisances that pop up out of nowhere, right? And the way most people go about their life is they put the small rocks in first, then the medium rocks. Then if there happens to be any time left, they put in the big rocks. And the thing is, the big rocks don't fit anymore. They overfill the jar. And you're like, well, this isn't working. Well, if you do it the opposite way around, you put in the big rocks first, then you put in the medium rocks, then you put in the small rocks, all of a sudden you can fill up the entire jar completely to the brim, and it fits perfectly. And so when you actually stop and take the time to focus on the big things first, you can fill up a lot more than if you focus on the small things first.
Right. Totally relate. And that's we have to transform and change that. And I had a great interview with Carl Perrier about his new book, The Why and the How. And that exactly, he interviewed nearly 5,000 successful people and icons and the cream of the cream, and found out what is the measurement and what is key to their success, right? And that is, first and foremost, that they just focus on the main thing, right?
Yeah.
And all the little pieces in there, they have stuff they outsource or whatever. Well, you can see it because you cannot reach successful people, right? They have so many barriers in front. You just cannot walk into their office or reach them on Facebook. They have so many barriers, like the Tony Robbins. You just can't reach this guy.
Exactly. Right? Yeah, and that's how you have to set yourself up as you become more and more successful, is because you have such big things you need to work on. The larger your organization grows, the larger your following grows, the more opportunities people are going to try and get in front of you. And so in order to limit that, you have to put those barriers up so you can still get your most important work done. And it's not that you don't want to help them, right? It's just you have to figure out new systems in order to help them to the best extent. Because if you try to help every single one of those people, I mean, even if your following is 1,000 people, right? And you try and help each one of those 1,000 people individually, you're going to go crazy. You're going to go nuts, literally.
Yeah, it's just not possible, right?
You can't, exactly.
But that's why they are really genius in outsourcing, in delegating, in setting up systems, right? So they have tools to spread the post wherever in social media, right? So that's the big hurdle for small business owners, which are of course my audience here. But we have to model that sort of to make it appropriate for us, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Because if you're a small business owner, it's not like you're going to hire, 100 people tomorrow because you're a small business owner, and you probably can't afford to pay 100 people to do all the work, right? Because that would be crazy. It would be awesome if you could, but most small business owners aren't able to do that. And then so the question becomes, okay, I want my business to grow. And for a lot of them, it's, I don't have the money to hire someone else. So then how do I, it's this kind of little block that comes up. It's this little wall, and they hit the wall and they're like, I don't know what to do now. And the thing about when you reach a wall, right, there's always a way to get to the other side of the wall. Right? You can either go over the wall, you can go under the wall, you can go around the wall, and worst comes to worst, you can just plow right through the wall. Right? Yeah. Usually that last option's the hardest one, but there's always something you can do. And every once in a while, guess what? There's actually a door that you can walk through.
Right. You just have to take the time and to see it, right?
Exactly. And be creative and look for options, right?
Yeah.
Most small business owners, when they come across a hurdle, they say it's not possible, right? And I would challenge every single one of them right at that moment, because I don't believe anything is impossible, right? If you have a vision for where you want to get to, you have a bigger vision for your life, I believe it's possible. I don't believe the human brain has the capacity to imagine a life for itself that's impossible for it to reach. Now, that doesn't mean it's not going to be difficult, and that doesn't mean it's not going to be taking time to reach it.
Yes.
But I don't think that it would torture itself like that. And so if you can imagine getting to a large point, I believe you have the capacity within yourself to get there. Just the question is, how creative are you going to be to actually get there? And are you going to take the courage to do the hard things to get there?
Yeah. So great you point that out, Cody. Thanks for that. Because, yes, it takes courage. It takes discipline. We all know that, right? So otherwise, we are not in business for a long time if we don't have that as small business owners. So I'm in that business since coming out of study, so almost my whole life. But a lot of people quit because it's hard to self-motivate and to bring up the discipline and to not have to do just one task, what your work is, but everything else, right? The ads, the promoting, the taxes. I have the other debts there. Just don't want to look at it. I have to make the first quarter is over, so I have to get the taxes ready for the agency. But so I just outsource this. I pay for the job to get done, but I still need to put the papers all together and bring them, and I just don't like it. I prefer talking when being with people, but all this paper stuff there and math is not for me.
Yeah, no,
but I still have to do it, right?
Yeah, it's still got to get done, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it yourself. And so, like you're saying, a great way, if you're kind of hitting that first roadblock of I need less to do, but it still needs to get done, is outsource it. Yeah. Right. And that doesn't necessarily mean hire someone full time. That's where I think a lot of people think like, once I hit that piece, I need to hire someone. And that's not true. There's a lot of different options that are out there. You could hire someone, sure, but that may not be the best option. You may want to outsource it to someone else who actually does that work full time. Or you might want to figure out, get like a digital assistant to work on that for you.
Yes.
Or this is a great one that I recently discovered. There are colleges out there who will actually work with businesses for a very small fee to get their students internships with you. And we're talking like $50 for 3 months.
Oh, that's a great idea.
It's a great idea because you get someone. I was actually brought on to them by a mutual friend of ours. Do you know Kim Sutton?
Yes. Okay,
Kim actually told me about them. Let me pull up just so I don't mislead anyone. The website for them, I thought it was in here. Yes, here it is.
Is it on our productivity podcast?
I don't know if Kim's talked about it on the Positive Productivity podcast, but I've talked with Kim about it. The one that I know of is called genm.co. So it's GEN as in Nancy, M as in Maria, .co, genm.co. And their specialty is marketing. And so you basically, for $50 for like I think it's $50 a month over, you get to hire, quote unquote, an intern, right? Who will do what you ask them to do.
That sounds
their whole thing. What?
That sounds fantastic.
It sounds amazing, right? And they're eager, right? Because they don't have the work experience. They want to prove themselves.
Right.
Right? And you're giving them an opportunity. How awesome is that?
Yeah.
Right? You get to be a blessing for someone else.
Right. Yeah. And it's a win-win for both.
Exactly. They get to get that experience. They get to dive into the actual work because there's a huge difference between theory and practice. And so you're giving them the actual ability to turn their theories into practice. And you're getting the work done that you need done that you don't necessarily want to focus on. It's brilliant.
Yeah, thanks for this tip, Cody. That's absolutely brilliant.
And I would pass that thanks on to Kim Sutton because she's absolutely a wonderful person. She's extremely knowledgeable in that area. So I would thank her.
She truly is. Yeah, but that's a fantastic tip. So already a virtual assistant could help out there, and there are many companies out there. So I truly believe what is needed to cope with today's problems out there is first and foremost to be ourselves, right? To be authentic, to become authentic, and secondly, especially as a business owner, we shouldn't work in a zone that gets us mad, right? So for my example, taxes and math and technical stuff, this is just not.
It's not for you.
If I have to do it before you kill me, right? Probably I will. But I hate it, right? I just don't like it. And it's not at all my genius zone. So I can talk in languages and people and everything for now and ever, right? But if I do have the other three things, like I just pointed out, it's such a heavy burden and duty for me, right? That's why I just quit the thinking that I have to do everything on my own. No, I have my technical assistant because it's quite challenging with the podcasting and everything set up here to cut the episodes and whatever. And the taxes, same thing. And math, but I don't need math too much. But I had a real estate agency for 20 years, so that was, of course, a lot of financing inside. And I did study that because I did study economics, but I never did it. I always gave the client to the banker, which I knew who is perfect. That's his job. We like to deal with numbers. I don't love this, right?
Definitely. And this all touches on something that I'm huge about. It's what I call it's a modern myth of our age, which is independence, right? And here in the United States, it's a lot larger than in many other places. But especially here in the United States, we have this idea that independence is like the greatest good, right? You want to be independent from the system. You want to be independent from your parents. You want to be independent from the corporate bigwigs and start your own business. Like independence is the way to go. And independence is great, right? Because before independence, you have dependence, and no one wants to be dependent, right? So you need to graduate from dependent to independence. Mm-hmm. But independence isn't the end of the game. And no matter where you look, this is true. The end of the game is interdependence, right? It's where I work awesome at the things that I do awesome on, but I have to interrely on other people who are awesome at the things that they are awesome at. Yeah. And you begin to build a network. And that's where the real power becomes obvious is once you start building that network with other people, whether it's directly within your own business, whether it's indirectly through other people around you, through different consultants, agencies, whatever, right? You need to find that interdependence. That's what we need to be aiming for.
Right. And that's what we end up then. It's just everybody is working on his zone of genius, in his zone of genius, right?
Exactly.
So the people who like the accounting and dealing with taxes, they can do that all day. And I just don't have nothing to do with it. So, of course, that's the best system, right?
Exactly.
Because what I love to do, I'm good at it, right? I enjoy it. Mm-hmm. And to have to do tasks that I totally don't like, it screws me up, right? It's costing me much more energy and effort to even start it and to fulfill it than the things that I like, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And this ties into a lot of the work I do because I work with a lot of leaders. And so often someone who's in a leadership position says, I'm the leader. I need to be responsible for everything. Yeah. Right. And that whole mindset is the independence mindset. I am the leader, the leader, right? Yeah. That's what they're thinking. And you have to go, no. That's not right. You're the leader. Yes. But within your organization, there will be other leaders, right? And they will lead in their zone of genius, as you've been putting it. Right. And so if you figure out, okay, who can I figure out to be a leader in this hemisphere? And who can I figure out to be a leader in that hemisphere? Exactly. And I may be the overall leader that's guiding the entire company forward, but I have to figure out, how do I get these other people to step up as leaders, to act on their own independently within this interdependent network so that we can all become greater than the individual could on their own.
Yeah, that's gorgeous, Cody, because that I would have asked it anyway because of the leadership we were about to talk. So now you just took over and answered it right away. So thanks for that.
Sure.
Because, I think to become legendary is only possible if we duplicate ourselves, right? So if we set up a system where we are not needed all the time to be present there and ourselves. So this could be done by everybody. And then secondly, to have a team of coaches, right? That's what I'm on the step here with the trainership. And of course, I've learned that at my own mentor, right? So, yeah, to get off the trap of trading time for money, and so many business owners are still, Kiyosaki points that into the quarters, but he says, well, they are entrepreneurs, but actually they are employees, right? Because they are sitting in their business all day long, like somebody else who is just there on the table and gets paid. But the other one, the employee, in many cases, is much more luckier than we, because he has his duty 9 to 5, right? He has his exact project or whatever he's responsible for to work there, and then he's gone, right? But we as business owners, we are still in the office because we have to do the taxes or product management or whatever is there, right? And that has nothing to do with becoming legendary. Nothing
exactly. Yeah. And the thing is, you can't become legendary at that stage. It's not possible, because in order for you to become legendary, you have to, like you talk about, you have to fully live into your genius zone. And for you to fully live into your genius zone, you need other people to take care of the things that you're not a genius at. I mean, even if you take one of the most famous examples, you can love him, you can hate him, I don't care. Steve Jobs, right? Who worked with Apple as the CEO, right? He fully lived into his genius zone. You know what he didn't work at? He didn't do customer support. You know why? He was really bad with people. There were a lot of people who hated him as a person. But guess what? He's become legendary, not because he was good with people, but because he was genius at marketing and discovering where the next marketplace is going to be. That was his genius zone, and he fully lived into it. And then he had a bunch of, and I'm talking hundreds of other people focus on the other things that he was not a genius at, because he wasn't a genius at everything. I don't care I don't care how much you like him. Exactly.
Nearly nobody can be a genius at everything, right?
Exactly.
That was
it's not
be a robot. That's not human, right? So
exactly,
we need to come to the place to let go of the things we are not capable of and we don't like.
Exactly.
And just focus on being authentic and what we love to do, because it feels less scary and less challenging, and you just told us with the example from Kim there, I was in the show notes, that even for small money we can outsource. That's what I'm doing here, right?
Yeah. And like the thing is, everyone has a price. Right.
Yeah.
So many times the small business owner gets stuck at like, I don't have enough money to pay for someone else. Okay, great. Even if you have zero money to spend, right? Everyone has a price, right? So you provide a service, right? Well, maybe you find someone else who needs your service and they can't pay for your service. Okay. You can do one of two things now. You can either trade services, so you get their services and you get their services, right? Or, right, say that you need their services, but they don't need your service. Okay, how creative and willing to be courageous are you? Are you willing to put your company on the line and say, hey, you know what? I can't pay you right now, but I need your services. I'm willing to give you 5% of my profit in order to get your services, because I know that your services are going to help me get to the next place that I want to get to. Right. And if they do the math, right, depending on how much 5% is, depending on your business, that could be a lot of money. Right. And so they may be more happy to help you than if you had paid them just a regular fee, because 5% can add up really quickly.
Yeah. I just love it because we need to think over the edge, right? There's always a way, and I always look for solutions to have everybody win, right? So
and that's at the end of the day, that's what you need, right?
Yeah.
Because and this is big negotiation, right? And sales. So many people think like, I need to win at the negotiation, or I need to win the sale. And it's not right. It needs to be a win-win situation for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Because even if you win the sale or the negotiation that day, that doesn't necessarily mean you win it in the future. And every business owner knows that the future business is worth more than today's business.
Yeah.
Because you get the compounded business, which is what we all want. Right. And that's why when you look at like a used car salesman, right, most people think of sales like that. And the used car salesman usually doesn't get repeat business. Why? Because they're so focused on getting the win today only. They don't care about the future.
Yeah.
And so you need to change that concept of what sales is, because you don't just want the sale today. You want the future sale too. And for that, right, you need a win-win situation.
Right. I think really that's key to all business and even in personal life. So for myself, I transformed over and over, and my life principle now is that I want to be sort of welcome and gift for everybody I meet, right? So
Exactly.
what I have on my flight podcast here is I bring up great speakers like you are, and you're so welcome. I inspire and motivate my listeners out there in Fly Nation, right? They get free tips. They don't have to pay for that. They get most valuable content on the pod, and I love to have it told in examples and in stories of my experts, right? Because that's storytelling is the one thing and examples that we can remember and that we can relate to. Either we say, it's like he says, or no, right?
That's true. No, stories is how we think. You know, that's how the mind really processes. We process more in pictures than in words. Because if I say right now, I want you to think of a dog, do you think D-O-G, or do you think of a specific type of dog? For some reason, an Australian Shepherd just popped into my head. No, we think in images, right? And that's why stories are so powerful, right? You have to be able to tell the story to get the message across. And look at any great story, that's how it works. You look at the Bible, right? Jesus teaches in parables. He doesn't just say, you know, do this. He gives a story, right? And it's because the stories is what really sticks in our minds. And that's how every great lesson comes from stories. Yeah.
And that's what we can remember and what people can relate with, no matter if they agree or not. Everybody has his own, her own opinion. That's not not the point. That's totally okay. Yeah, but because so many people think the judging point, right? So I left that a long time because I said, I don't judge nobody else. You have your opinion, I have mine. That's totally fine. We don't need to agree, right?
I actually think it's healthy not to agree, right? There's been so often where I've come across someone where they say something I know I totally don't agree with. Like for instance, right? Stephen Soshin, we talked about him earlier. I love Stephen Soshin, right? One of the first things we talked about in our interview is why he thinks Napoleon Hill is full of baloney.
I was laughing so much.
And I love Napoleon Hill. I think Napoleon Hill has a lot of fascinating ideas that are extremely relevant to today's world. And so like immediately off the bat, I didn't agree with him on that. But that's okay, because you know what? We continued talking, and I'm not going to let that stop us from talking. And we continued to talk, and there were so many great things we did talk about. In our episode, we talked about all these different biases that we have as human beings, and they're so true, right? And I don't believe that there's complete luck, right? But I think that there are circumstances out of our control that may completely set our plans haywire, right? One of the things he talked about in the episode, which I thought was brilliant, was that if you were trying to open a Middle Eastern travel agency on September 12th, right, the day after the September 11th attack in the United States, you were screwed, right? It doesn't matter how perfect your plan is, right? You were screwed.
Wrong time.
Right? Exactly. Just the wrong time. And those are circumstances that are outside of your control. But guess what? If you had a good plan, that doesn't mean that you're forever sunk, right? That just means that you need to change your plan into something better. Instead of the Middle East, maybe you need to open it up somewhere in Europe instead, right? And you just pivot, right? And there's nothing wrong with the pivot. Pivots are great.
No, I love it. Pivoting is great. I love it, and adapt things, right? And keep off the judging and the guessing part often, right? So we guess, the other one thinks whatever, but we even didn't ask, we didn't get. I cannot read your mind. I mean, I'm good at it. But I'm not at reading the mind. I'm very empathic. I feel it. I always sense it to my interview partner before going on air. But of course, I cannot really look into your mind, right? So this can end up like Stephen did with and I just loved it how you turned it around in a very nice and friendly, smooth way, the Napoleon and the Hill sentence.
Thank you.
And but for me, he's fascinating, right? I could have when I listened to such a talk, I could have said, "Oh, he's complicated, right? I don't want him here, right?" Because he's obviously not yes sayer, right? So he's fighting for the state, and he has his opinion, and it showed up that this is obviously not the common opinion, right? Because so many people, they love and adore Napoleon Hill, me included. But what this guest there pointed out, I can relate to it.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
And he says his opinion, and then all the time he explained it, why he's thinking that.
Yeah.
And every other thing is bullshit. I really enjoyed this episode. It was fantastic.
Well, and like what I think so many of us do is we come up to someone who opposes one idea of ours, right? And we automatically get ready to go to war over one idea, right?
Yeah.
When in reality, like if you would take like 10 more seconds to hear more ideas, you would realize, oh, that was only one idea out of 10. And the other 9 things we actually agree on, right?
Yeah.
And if you can overlook the one thing and get along on the 9 other things that we actually do agree on, oh my gosh, there's so much you can accomplish because of that. And then the one thing, it's minor, right? Let's overlook the minor thing and actually be united, create an interdependent force towards where we actually want to get to.
Right, and that's really what I do in this case is I just say thanks for sharing, right? That's his or your mind, right? And your opinion, and we don't need to agree upon it, right? So everybody does have the right to have his own or her own opinion, and that's totally okay. We have the thinking and the mindset. Oh, everything must be, like
it must be 100% aligned in this specific direction.
Yeah, but that's bullshit, right? So
it's not going to happen.
There's no need for that, and also this is not only business talk. This is just personal daily life. Even with our partner, right? We are not glued. We are not one. If I don't understand what my partner wants or means or would like, well, I have a mouth to ask. I just ask. And if there comes something that you don't relate, well, thanks for sharing. That's your opinion. That's interesting. Mine is different. That's totally okay.
Definitely.
There is no need
no, it's so true. I think no, there's no need to be aggressive. I think that we have a huge challenge in the relationship world today. There's so many divorces between people for that very reason, is they find the one thing they can't agree upon, right? And they allow that to completely disintegrate the relationship. When they had a good relationship overall, right? And if they would have just looked past that one thing, and I'm not saying every relationship is good, because there are definitely bad relationships out there, but there are so many relationships that should work that don't, because people find the one thing they don't agree on and they allow it to completely destroy the relationship. When we can come up to the one thing and say, okay, we don't agree on this. But that's okay. What are the other 9 things we do agree upon, right? And how do we function and continue to push ourselves forward and push each other forward to get to our best selves? Because I think that's important in every relationship, is you have to push each other to become the best version of each other.
Right. Yeah, and to really to be okay with the partner or business partner. Be his own, her own individual, right? And authentic. Exactly. Yeah, that I think that's really key. And by seeing all these dramatic, environmental and whatever challenges and struggles we have out there, and I'm totally of the meaning that we cannot solve these problems when we go on and like fighting and struggling. I think we need to come, what we mentioned before, to collaboration and to together.
Definitely. Yeah. And the challenges in today's world are huge, right? I was just reading yesterday these 2 articles about global warming and the consequences of what that could mean here in the next 100 years. It's extreme. And I don't want to dive into all the different things that have to do with that. But the whole point being that if we can't figure out how to unite together, we're not going to be able to solve those things, and those things are going to come to pass, and it's going to look really bad for everybody. And so we have to put the small differences aside and come together on the big things and say, okay, right? How are we going to solve these things? How are we going to prevent all the chaos that could ensue, right?
Right.
And the only way it's going to happen is if we unite, right? If we say, okay, these are my strengths, right? I'm living fully authentically with my strengths. What are your strengths? Awesome. You know where that'll be really good? Over here. What are your strengths? Awesome. You know what? I need help with that. So you come here. What are your strengths? Awesome. let's go over there with that one, right? And as we each fully live into those strengths and work on these things together, there's nothing that will stop us from accomplishing amazing things. But it requires us to put aside the petty little things that we're allowing ourselves to prevent us from accomplishing half of what's possible.
Yeah, but I really have one part of my podcast is also the environmental challenges we face here, and to point that out. And I mean, we can see that everywhere with the weather struggles, and this morning it's spring and it's nice and it's lovely, the flowers are there, and this morning the snow came. Strange, it stopped, thanks God, but it's really strange, and we just had the whole snow there in the Alps and in the States, and well, of course the ocean, the water level rising, right? So
yeah,
sooner or later, some of the islands in the Caribbean will be gone, and
just gone. We had a lot of our ocean cities too. At part of the world, they'll be gone. They'll be underwater, and like the thing is, throughout human
not
history,
so far from now, Cody.
Within the next 100 years, we're talking about.
No, much less.
I'm talking like the worst of the worst is looking at like the next 100 years. You're going to see effects before then. We already are seeing the effects.
Yeah.
And if it's crazy, all of this stuff that's like right here. Throughout human history, we have put ourselves next to water because it's one of the best ways for travel and for trade. Right. Yeah. So we've gotten used to putting ourselves near cities. That's why most of the major cities in the world are near water sources.
Right.
Well, if all these water levels rise to the levels they're talking about, right? Many of these major cities around the world are going to be gone, right?
Yeah.
And then like those are huge populations that are living in those areas.
Yeah.
We're talking thousands upon tens of thousands of people. Right. In some places, it's hundreds of thousands of people.
Right.
And so if those places disappear, where do those people go to?
Yeah, right. And that would be a radical change. Oh, you see the hurricane that gets stronger and stronger. Just mentioning Karina, when I was there in the Caribbean. So like St. Martin, Tortola, all the islands there, St. Barth, it's totally, they just earth, there's nothing anymore, right? So
yeah,
and I was on Barbados with my friends at that time, and well, the water coming, and 5 or 10 people on the island there died because of some trees falling over or whatever. But that was nothing compared to the island like St. Martin or whatever. They're totally destroyed, right? And or Malibu with all the burning problem there. It's really, we're facing big problems now.
Huge, gigantic problems, and these are problems that have never been faced in human history before. And so in order to overcome these problems, it's really going to take the united knowledge and the united know-how and the united just tenacity of different people to really overcome it. I was listening to another podcast. I love listening to podcasts.
Yeah, me too.
Just throwing that out there. And it's the podcast is, it used to be called Legends and Losers. Now it's called Follow Your Different by Christopher Lochhead. He's a fascinating guy. Uh-huh. On one of his episodes, he was, and I don't remember this person's name, but he was talking with someone who's a firefighter, or works with firefighters over in California. Yeah. And they were talking about I had a great uncle who was a firefighter, like during the 50s and all around that time. Back in that time, they didn't have any sort of facial gear to prevent smoke from getting in. So my great uncle, he ended up dying from cancer because he was a firefighter. Now, since then, right, in indoor firefighting, they've created all these apparatus so that the firefighters don't have to breathe in smoke all the time. And so like, that was an awesome thing for me hearing that, because I had a great uncle die from that. It's awesome to hear that we've taken steps forward so that doesn't continue to happen. Yeah. Now, when I was listening to this interview, I discovered that when firefighters aren't in homes, when they're actually out in these huge forest fires, those oxygen tanks that would prevent them from getting cancer, those tanks don't have enough oxygen for when they're out in the wilderness. And so many of the firefighters, So many of the firefighters who are fighting these huge wildfires out in like the woods, like in California, they don't have those apparatus, which means that they're inhaling smoke, which means that they are at risk of succumbing to cancer, just like my great uncle. I didn't know that until I listened to this interview. It's terrible.
Me not either. Why?
It's true.
Oh yeah, but why? It's terrible because they believe they are in nature outside. Or why?
Yeah, well, because the tanks they have aren't large enough to sustain giving them enough oxygen for the amount of time they have to be out there.
Ah, okay.
So you're talking. And on top of this, they're under-resourced. There's not enough people fighting these fires. And then the other thing they talked about is what they spray onto the fires, right, to kill the fires, is actually really bad for the environment. It's great for buildings, right, because it puts the fires out fast. But when you're talking these huge wilderness fires that are absolutely gigantic, what they spray isn't good for the environment, and it actually ends up destroying a part of the environment. There's a bunch of toxic things that get released into the air. So not only do you have all these excess gases from the fire itself, but from the chemicals there that they are using to try and put these fires out. And so during this interview, one of the big things that this company is working on is creating a fire repellent, right? That is actually good for the environment. And so that's what they've been designing. Fascinating, right? That's something that needs to get used more often. That's something that we need to promote, right? But that kind of thing only happens when people unite and push for things like this.
Right. Because we are not specialists in this field. How can we know, right?
Exactly. I don't know anything about chemistry. I mean, the last time I took anything with chemistry was high school. Yeah, it was high school, and that was years ago. And guess what? I don't remember it. I have a hard time remembering what happened last week, let alone what happened in high school. Right. So, like, that's not my area of genius. And guess what? I would love to be able to help out with that, right? But I can't get in there and figure out the chemistry of it to help with that part specifically. But that doesn't mean I can't help, right? Yeah. How can I help?
Well, we can.
I'm here right now talking about it, talking to different people, right? Saying, hey, this is something that's great that we need to fight for. That's how I can help. And the question becomes, how can you help, right? Maybe you are great at chemistry. Maybe you can help them out with the chemistry behind it. Maybe you're really good at sales and negotiations, so you can figure out how do we actually get this in more places. Maybe you're not good at any of that and you're just good at talking, right? Like me, I'm good at talking. So let me talk. Use your voice. Bring it forth so that people can hear it.
Right. And for example, me, I'm not good at chemistry either. But I'm providing my channel, same as you do, right?
Exactly.
To bring the message into the world, right?
Exactly.
People need to, it must become public. So
exactly.
people can hear it.
Actually, this makes me think of one thing really quick. One of the big things we talk about in our world today, especially in the world of personal development, is follow your passion, right? And so like you need to follow whatever you're passionate about, right? And so many people think like, okay, I'm passionate about this specific thing, so I have to make myself into that specific thing, right?
Yeah.
One of my mentors, John Maxwell, he has this great story where he talks about, he was talking with one of his coworker, or one of the people on his team, and this guy was always miserable, right? And like he wasn't great at his job, but John Maxwell, being the kind of person he is, just wanted to help him elevate himself, right?
Yeah.
And so he had a conversation with this guy, and he's all like, I can tell you're not really happy. This isn't really what you want to do. So if you could do whatever it is you wanted to do, what would it be? Right? And the guy said, I want to be the announcer for the Chicago Cubs baseball team. Right? Okay. That's a very specific thing. Yeah. Right. And he'd never done public announcements. Right. So like, how are you going to become the public announcer for one of the most highlighted teams in baseball history if you've never had any experience in doing it? Right. He's passionate about that, but he doesn't have the skills to get there. So I don't believe you should necessarily follow your passion in that sense, right? Because like, that's great. You want to be the announcer for the Chicago Cubs. Can you actually do it? Great. You want to be the next LeBron James. Can you actually play basketball? Right? So sometimes the things you're passionate about, you just don't have the skills to do naturally, right? There's nothing wrong with that. So I would say you don't just follow your passion to whatever end you see, but you say, okay, I'm passionate in this area. What can I do with the skills, things that I'm awesome at to actually impact those areas? Right. So maybe you love basketball and you want to be the next LeBron James, but guess what? You don't have the skills to become LeBron James. Okay. Right. That's reality. Right. Now the question, now it's not, okay, I can't become LeBron James. How can I impact basketball at a new level? Well, there's thousands of ways you can impact basketball. Maybe you can be an announcer. Maybe you can become a physical trainer. Maybe you can figure out to do the marketing and sales behind all these different things, right? Maybe you look into design, right? And so there's a big problem in sports with ankle injuries. So maybe how do I design footwear that's usable for basketball players so that they get less injuries, right?
Yeah. Could be so much.
Yeah, there's so much you can do to impact basketball. So it's not just about it's not just about following your passion, but it's understanding truly what is it you're passionate about, and then how can you actually fit in to what it is you're passionate about.
Totally. That's so amazing. We could talk for forever, Cody. But we need to come to an end.
All right. I understand that. And trust me, I have no sense of time, so I could go on forever. Sometimes you have to cut me off.
Yeah, but it's so great. But I think we covered a lot, and just, I love to talk on the fly, not to be too structured, and yeah, it's so lovely to have you on the pod. So
Well, it's been lovely being here.
Yeah. Did we mention everything that you wanted to mention, or did we miss something?
Not that I can think of. I mean, like you were saying, I could literally go on forever, and you give me just a little bit of a string and I can pull at that for a while.
Yeah, so, that's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, we've talked about some awesome stuff. And I think we're okay for today.
Yeah, that's great. No, because I love to talk on different topics, so cover some different, some private and some business topics always in every talk, and not to stick too long, like 1 or 2 hours on one topic, right? and not to get it boring for the listeners out there. So that's why I always like to keep it interactive. But that we were like playing ping pong with both of us. That was just fantastic. So there's nothing we have to add before wrapping up. No,
not that I can think of. Is there anything you wanted to add?
No, I'm completely fine. I think we covered a lot in the business field and leadership field here, and also relating in the personal field. Because I believe we are not only business people or personal. This is Cody, and Cody is Cody there. Of course, he's a businessman, but he's also a private man, right? So.
Oh yeah, definitely.
How could I separate Cody?
You can't. Yeah. Is the thing is there's no such thing as separating yourself from what you do.
Right.
Like no matter how much you want to try it doesn't happen.
So many people try to do that, and I think it's just not possible because
it's not.
First and foremost, we are the person ourselves, and the emphasis should be to be authentic with ourselves and to show up authentic, and then just business person follows, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Also, right? So they
and the thing is
in half or whatever.
Exactly. Whatever happens at business, at home, anywhere, right? That will always have some sort of residue that follows you wherever you go, right? Yeah. So if you get in a huge fight with your significant other and then you go to work, that huge fight is still going to be in your head whether you like it or not. Right. And guess what? If you're at work and you have a huge fight with someone on your team or your boss, guess what? That's going to follow you home. Yeah. So you can't, it's not feasible to completely just separate them. That's not how the brain works. Right. And so you have to figure out.
It totally interacts, right? So if we have a problem or fight at work, right? We'd rather stay, drive home and stay in the car outside the house for half an hour until we are not upset anymore and we are cool and relaxed, not to bring the business struggle into home, right?
Yeah.
So if we rush in there, the partner will get hit by things that have nothing to do with him, right? So the next problem and the next struggle is just there.
Well, and here's the other thing, right? Even if you wait to go inside the house, right? Because you want to come in more calm and collected, right? You're actually taking time away from your house, right? And you're taking time away from your significant other. And so because you need that extra time, it's already impacting home, whether you like it or not, because you're spending less time at home.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Never saw that on that point, but that's true. That's true. I think it's better to take that little time away from home than rushing into home with being filled with angriness or whatever from because it's difficult to come home and then say, oh, well, leave me alone. I'm not in the mood, right? Not the
exactly.
Might want to talk or whatever, and of course he or she doesn't know anything what happened at work, and that's tricky, right?
It is tricky, but like I think there's also a third option that we haven't explored here, right? Because usually you think, okay, you get in this big fight at work. Okay, I need to get home now. I get home, but then I wait in the car, right? And I can either wait in the car or I can go straight in home, right? But the third option is before you even leave work, just settle the matter today, right? Maybe you stay at work a little bit longer, right? But it's better to stay at work a little bit longer even if it's half an hour, than to wait in the car for an extra hour at home before going. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
You actually save yourself half an hour by actually just settling it that day and going up to the person and say, hey, we had this huge thing. I just want to settle it with you right now so that I don't have to try and bring this home with me. And so that you don't have to try and bring this home with you. Let's hash it out right now so that we can leave being united again, right? Instead of leaving being disunited and having it all impact us all over the place.
Yeah, I love it. It's one of my principles. Whenever it's something that I disagree, for example, with my two adult sons here, we haven't. There's no need to be one opinion all the time, and of course we have different opinions. But I love it I love it harmonic and in a smooth way. And if there is a misunderstanding, what of course can occur, then I just I'm doing this principle, right? So I don't want to take it into my evening or into my sleep, because then I will not sleep good. Right, mm-hmm. so I just try to say how it felt for me, right?
Yeah,
and then we just come together and check and find out what the problem is. Sometimes there is no problem at all, right? It's just an imagined thing, and nobody got hurt and nothing, and there is nothing to worry, and it's just a illusionary thought, right?
Yeah, and that happens so often to us. It's this phrase that I love to say is perception becomes reality.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you perceive that this situation is going to play out some sort of way that's really bad, a lot of times we end up making the situation really bad, right? When if you would say, okay, this is how I'm feeling, but I don't actually know this, right? So let me actually go over here and have this conversation so that I can actually get to the truth of it, right? For instance, how many times have we looked at someone and they gave some sort of look back and we're like, oh, that person must not like me. Because if they didn't like me, they wouldn't have given me that look, right? But you don't know if that look was actually directed at you. I make faces all the time, and I have no idea what my face is doing half the time, right? And if you would just come up to me and be like, hey, Cody, you made this really weird face at me. It made me feel like you hate me. I'd be like, what? No, I was just thinking about how I didn't like lunch. Right?
Yeah.
Like it has nothing to do
with me, right? Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But like if you let that perception continue to go on and on and on, right? That could create a divide between me and the other person that doesn't need to exist at all.
Right. We have a saying here that is two old ladies and they got to the bakery every morning, and so one loved the upper side from the was heißt Brötchen? From the just missing the word. Not the bread, but the round thing. What is it called?
Biscuit? I don't know.
You put the butter, the marmalade on the round thing.
I'm thinking biscuit in my head, but biscuit.
No, biscuit is cake.
Bagel.
Yeah, sort of bagel. And so one always gave the other one the upper side, the top side.
Okay.
Because she perceived she wants the top side, right? And she took the downward side. And once after so many years, they found out that why both of them had all their life the wrong side. Because one perceived, I give my friend the top side, and well, I take the ground for myself. And the other one would have preferred the ground. So both of them were eating the wrong side their whole life, just because of a perception, right?
Yeah.
They never talked about it. Which side do you prefer? Then everything would have been clear. But it's just a perception of the one lady giving the other one the top side, and then it became habit, and well, it went on and on.
Exactly. And that happens to so many of us so often.
That's how
we
life
just
goes.
Allow that perception to continue forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
And sometimes it has devastating effects.
Yeah.
And so I would challenge people, like, if you have a perception, don't act based on the perception. Get to the reality of it and then act.
Yeah. I'm going to write that down. Don't act based on the perception. Yeah, but well, then life gets in the way, right? And we are on a complete other level.
Exactly.
We could have just asked, which one would you prefer, right? It would have been easy.
So easy, right? And it's one of those things where it's so easy to do, yet so easy not to do.
Yeah.
And if you would take just half a second to do that easy thing, dramatic changes could occur.
Yes. That's a good last sentence, Cody. We were really talking long here. But I think this wrap up round was brilliant. Right. And thanks so much. And I'm sure you're coming back.
Awesome. Thank you. Right? And thank you so much. I really appreciate this time. It's been an absolute blast being here.
Thank you. So stay another second so we just can cut it here. So Fly Nation, I hope you really got a lot takeaways out of the lovely and amazing interview with Cody Dakota Wooten today. He's a leadership coach, and we try to mention the private life and the business life part, and discuss how this interferes and what could life be easier and make life easier, and to unite and to joint venture, which I'm a big fan of joint venturing, and just don't act based on our perception. That was the last sentence, and we're going to wrap it up with that. Thanks for listening in today. Bye.
Hello Fly Nation, thanks for listening in today. I hope you got new inspiration to level up your life. Discovering your unique life purpose, living aligned and leveraging your potential is the way to experience the fulfilled inner freedom we are all longing for. You'll find all links and recaps of today's interview in the show notes description. Please rate and review either on freestyleyourlifepodcast.com or on iTunes, and please share the Fly Podcast with friends. Don't forget to subscribe to be sure to catch your next transformational success story on Thursday. Looking forward to inspire you on Thursday. Have a great day and go for your dreams. Remember, Fly Nation, break free and fly. Talk to you on Thursday. Bye.